Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In the last 5 or 6 months, maybe even less than that, Anastasia Beverly Hills has released not 1, not 2, but 3 new eyeshadow palettes. So a question I am asked over and over again when I talk about one of these palettes in a video or I show a look on my Instagram page, people are always asking me which one they should get. If they could only get one, which one would I recommend? So I thought I would take you through each of them, give you my personal opinion on them, and hopefully help you make a decision, because I understand that not everybody watching, the majority of you watching, you can't be buying every single new eyeshadow palette that launches. It's overwhelming, the amount of product that gets pushed on you constantly. If you are anywhere near YouTube or Instagram, Twitter, you're always seeing things, just the hype about every new launch. And most of us can't purchase every single launch that comes out. I'm lucky enough, number one, that it's part of my job to buy and review these products for you. The other thing that I personally am lucky about is that I do get a professional discount. I'm not on Anastasia's PR list, but I do get a nice discount at a beauty supply store out in Los Angeles that sells the brand. So without any further ado, let's go through each of these palettes and hopefully help you decide which one is right for you. So let's start with the price. I thought they were all priced the same, but actually, Sultry is a little bit more money. Not a lot, but $42 for Soft Glam and Norvina versus $45 for Sultry. Maybe it's because it has the sparkly packaging that could contribute to the $3 price difference. I'm gonna look at the amount in here. In the Sultry palette, you get 0.83 grams of product. In the Norvina, you get 0.71 grams of product. And in the Soft Glam, you get 0.74. So you do get a tiny bit more product in the Sultry. All right, let's start comparing the palettes. I'm going to begin with the one that launched first, the Soft Glam. I think this came out back in May or June, but I've been using this one a lot. I had it in a favorites video. I take this one with me whenever I travel. Prior to this launching, my favorite ABH palette had been Modern Renaissance. So the draw of this one for me was that it did contain some of my favorite colors from the Modern Renaissance palette, but it wasn't quite as red. There were some other colors in here that are more my speed. My eyes can't take a lot of red because they get easily irritated by anything that has red tones, by the red dye in them. But sometimes I could wear the Modern Renaissance with no problems, and other times I would have irritation if I used too many of the real red shades. But anyway, I loved that Tempera was in this because I think it's a great color for under the brow or highlighting the inner corner if you want something matte. It also was a re-promote of Burnt Orange from the Modern Renaissance that's in here, which is a great transition color. And then I love Cypress Umber. It's such a beautiful, dark, rich brown. And if you know anything about me, when I review palettes, one of the things that I like in a palette, especially one that I'm going to use for travel, it has to have a matte black. I know a lot of people are overseeing matte blacks in palettes, but for me, it's a necessity. If I'm reaching for this palette in the morning, I know I can create a soft daytime look, and then if I reach for it in the evening, I have that matte black. If I want to, line my eyes with it, maybe I want to do an all black smoky eye. So the color selection in Norvina is interesting. When this palette first came out and pictures of it were surfacing on social media, I kept hearing that it's a purple palette. Well, yeah, the packaging is purple and there are some purples in here, but I wouldn't call it a purple palette per se. People really like to quickly categorize something as a warm palette or a purple palette or a cool palette, when in reality, I think ABH does a great job of incorporating warms and cools in a lot of the palettes. This one is not going to be as user-friendly as Soft Glam, just because a lot of times when people see different colors like this and they don't look like they exactly go together, people can get kind of confused and they're just not sure where to start. Where do I go with this palette? How do I create a look with this palette? So that's why YouTube's here. That's why we're here, so we can show you. But there's also a lot of shimmers in this palette that I personally like. I love a pop of shimmer on the lid. But if you don't like a lot of shimmer, this has more shimmers than the Soft Glam. And in this palette, I feel the shimmers are more intense than in the Soft Glam. For instance, I'm going to show you the shade Summer from Norvina, and then I'm going to go into the shade Glistening. They're both kind of light gold shades, but if you look closely, Summer is definitely more intense. Now let's compare Rose Gold from Norvina with Rose Pink from Soft Glam. So here's Rose Gold, and here is Rose Pink from Soft Glam. So once again, Rose Gold is much more intense. Now, one of the shadows that I'm not that thrilled with in this palette is the all over color, or the under the brow highlight shade. In this palette, Norvina, it's called Base. And it is a nice creamy ivory. I'm gonna compare it to Tempera, which is in Soft Glam and also in the Modern Renaissance. So I like that the Tempera is a little less yellow. So it's gonna depend on your skin tone, which one of these colors you're going to prefer. But for me, I think anybody with more light to fair skin would probably prefer Tempera, and somebody with more medium to deep skin might prefer Base. So let me show you the difference. So my middle finger is Tempera, and my index finger is Base. Hopefully you can tell that Base has a lot more yellow to it. And I also found as I was swatching them, as I was picking them up on my finger, Tempera was a lot creamier as well. So now let's move on to the Sultry palette. I forgot to mention that each one does come with a nice dual-ended brush, and I always keep these. Usually if a brush comes with a palette, I toss it because I just don't think that they're good quality, but these are actually really good quality. And this palette is stunning, I think. Now, when I first saw it, like a lot of people, I was kind of thrown off by this corner right here. I thought the palette could have just stopped right there and have been a great, standalone palette. But these were where I was a little thrown off. This shade Birch, I was a little concerned because it did look a little muddy, like a little more of like a khaki brown, which is more difficult to work with on a lot of skin tones. And then this shade Bloom, by the way, this is the one I'm wearing right now, the Sultry palette. This shade Bloom, I put in my crease as a transition color, and I suppose you could put it under the lash line. I still am a little bit like, not so sure about that one. And in my experience, the Bloom has been a little bit dry. Usually Anastasia's shadows are very creamy, but this one it's pigmented, but it's dry. Once again, we have Noir up here, which I just said a few moments ago, I don't really mind, but to have it come out in a palette that was released so close together, I'm not so sure that was the smartest thing, but I think this was supposed to be more of a holiday glam type of look. For those holiday parties you're going to, maybe you're going to be a little bit more dramatic, or maybe you're traveling to holiday parties or New Year's Eve or something like that, which is going to be here before we know it. So I'm thinking, oh, New Year's Eve, that's a long time away. But really, it's not. It'll be here before we know it. So let's compare this Noir. Well, that one is creamier, definitely creamier than Bloom. Let's compare it to the Noir in the Soft Glam. See, now the Noir in the Soft Glam is actually a little bit drier. So they're a little inconsistent. I would say that the Noir, it might not pick up on camera. I'm going to show you, but it might not pick up. I would say that the Noir in the Sultry is a little bit deeper. So my middle finger is the Noir from Sultry, and my ring finger is the Noir from Soft Glam. Now for the shade Slate. That's part of this little corner right here that I was a little bit iffy about. It's creamy and it's pigmented, but I find from a makeup artist's perspective that grays are difficult to use. It's really used, I personally only use it if I'm doing maybe like an all black smoky eye or an intense smoky eye and I just want to buff out the edges. I'm just not the biggest lover of gray eyeshadows, and I don't really think that they work well for dark skins either. Overall, I think that this is a really pretty palette. The shimmers, again, if you like Anastasia's shimmer formula, these are also the more intense shimmer formulas. Let's compare some sultry shades with the others. So let's look at Rose Quartz from Sultry versus Rose Gold from Norvina versus Rose Pink from Soft Glam. So here we have Rose Quartz, then Rose Gold from Norvina, and Rose Pink from Soft Glam. Now I want to compare Dystopian, which is the brown in the Sultry palette. I want to compare that with Cypress Umber from Soft Glam. So my middle finger is Dystopian and my ring finger is Cypress Umber. Cypress Umber is more of a chocolate brown, whereas Dystopian is more of an espresso, deeper brown. I also want to compare Fresh. Actually, I did that today. I did Fresh under my brow in one eye, and I used Tempera under the brow on the other eye, and I found Tempera, still my favorite, it has a lot more pigment than Fresh. So my ring finger is Fresh, and my middle finger is Tempera. They probably looked very similar there, but I did do one on one eye and one on the other this morning, and I found Tempera just to be a lot creamier and a lot more pigmented. Okay, I want to finish this with Practicality. Which one of these palettes do I think that the majority of you are going to get the most use of if you are looking to just purchase one? I would say that if you are a dramatic makeup wearer, if you like smoky eyes, you like shimmer, you like to get very glam a lot, then I would probably say go for Sultry. Perhaps you're someone who only wears makeup for date night or a special event. Then I would recommend Sultry because it pretty much has everything that you need. Okay, I would say the Norvina palette is probably the least practical of the three. If you're looking to just add color to a very boring neutral eyeshadow collection, then yeah, this would be, I think, a great one. I think the colors are beautiful. I think when you start playing around with it more, you can come up with some beautiful, unique looks. But as a standalone palette, if you really don't have a lot of other eyeshadows, you don't have a palette like a Tartelette or something that has some good neutrals in there, then this wouldn't be it. But again, if you're trying to add to an existing collection that maybe is a little boring, you want to shake things up a little color, a little shimmer, then I would recommend this because it is beautiful. So the winner today, for me at least, is still my baby, the Soft Glam. I just think it's the most practical. It is a standalone palette. You have everything that you need, and every color in here is pigmented. There is a little bit of fallout with some of the darker shades like the Cypress Umber and the Mulberry. I experienced that with the Modern Renaissance, the Cypress Umber and Modern Renaissance as well. I get a ton of fallout from that. Anastasia's eyeshadows are, for the most part, very creamy, with the exception of some drier ones I've just discovered. But for the most part, they're very creamy. I know some people love the formula and some people just don't. That's a personal preference. I really enjoy the formula, which is why one of the reasons why I continue to purchase these palettes and rave about them. I just think that the formula is great. And I do love the shimmers, both the more subtle shimmers and the more intense shimmers. I'm sure there are going to be those of you that feel like it's just too warm. There aren't enough cool tones to suit your skin tone. And I get that. I totally understand. But what I'm trying to do here with this video is to just help those of you who have been interested in each of these three palettes to decide which one would be best for you. So it could be none of these three. I'm just speaking to those of you who have been just torn. Soft Glam, Sultry, Norvina. Maybe you're thinking of which one to get for the upcoming Sephora Beauty Insider or VIB sale, or maybe you're thinking of what palette your sister might want for Christmas, or your mom, or your cousin, or your aunt, or your best friend. So hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you aren't currently. You can also follow me on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter. I have all of those things, and they are all Risa Does Makeup, and I would appreciate it if you would check me out there as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. You guys, I have a scrunchie in my hair. Could you tell? Could you see that in the video? I want to bring back the scrunchie. I feel like a lot of people wear them at home, but they're afraid to wear them out. People should not be shamed for wearing a scrunchie out of the house. Here is the mess that occurs behind the scenes. Whoa, does that make your fingers dirty? I need to go get a wipe. All right, time to take that thumbnail shot.